kingdom.
Live.
What's hot? Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni.
Yeah, when it's grim, be the Grim Reaper and go get it.
It's my home's house. And it is good. Woo! Arrowhead man. The Lombardi Trophy is a red and gold reflection. You gotta fight for your right to party.
Woo! Let's go.
Chiefs Kingdom. It's Wednesday. It's 8 o'clock. It's Chiefs Kingdom Live. Thank you so much for joining us. While you're here, real quick, don't forget, click or tap that like, click or tap that subscribe. Tell a friend, tell a family member, tell some Chiefs fans, help spread the word. We'd surely appreciate it. Got a solid show lined up tonight. We got some
we do.
Got some Chiefs news to go through. We'll break down the game against the Cincinnati Bengals at Arrowhead, and then look ahead to playoff positioning and this week's poll. And we're just going to talk playoffs. So not much to talk about with the game against the Chargers. We might talk about it briefly when we talk about maybe resting or starting players and who should rest or who should play, but that'll come later in the show. Before we get into it, fellas, how are we doing this evening, Mo?
I am doing good. Good to see you guys. Good to see your faces. Happy New Year. Good to see everybody in the chat. Thank you guys for joining us. Appreciate it. No, doing great, man. We're playoff bound. No complaints whatsoever. Our 8th straight AFC West championship, man. Like, yeah, I am Cloud9 right now. Doing good. Nick, how you doing, my man?
Same. It's just it's pretty incredible to think that, we were so far back on AFC West championships, and then we brought it back so everybody had 15, and now the Chiefs have the most in the history of the AFC West. That's awesome, dude. So kudos to them. I mean, back to back 100 times, right? So yeah, I'm stoked, man. I'm stoked. I'm ready for the playoffs to begin. After the start of that game, the Chiefs kind of pulled it out. Butker came through for us, and I'm feeling good, man.
Yeah, good. I'm doing good. Anytime you beat the Bengals, that's a good week. Afterwards,
Always.
they're definitely the Chiefs' nemesis right now, so that's a good feeling. Getting back in the win column is a good feeling. Going back to the playoffs is a good feeling. It's just riding high after a couple of low weeks there and some bad losses and performances by the Chiefs. So, but yeah, I'm doing good. Before we get into the game against the Bengals and the Chiefs winning that record AFC West division title, a little Chiefs news. Earlier today, they released the results of the Pro Bowl votes. The Chiefs have 5 Pro Bowlers. A couple of guys that you think probably maybe should have been there but weren't. We retweeted or reposted there on X the Chiefs announcing the Pro Bowl players there. The Pro Bowl is one of those things where it's really more like a popularity contest, right? Like class president.
Yeah, completely.
You're in high school or something. Some of the guys that don't make it, there's guys that don't make it probably a couple of years earlier in their career that should, but then once they get that reputation and that name recognition, then they make it a few years at the end that they probably shouldn't. So I think it all evens out for a lot of these guys. Just overall thoughts before we get into it. I'd like to see what the chat thinks. Who got snubbed, who maybe is on there that shouldn't have made it. I don't know that we're going to get any of that, but let's go top to bottom here. Nick, what do you think about Chiefs Pro Bowlers?
Yeah, it's a good group. I know everybody's going to talk about Snead, but Harrison Butker, well,
yeah, baby.
That's crazy, but no, it's good. Look, I think Snead is the big one on there that you're like, I mean, if you look at his statistics against all of the top wide receivers he faced this year, he faced Devontae Adams, he faced Justin Jefferson, he faced Jamar Chase, right? I mean, it just
Tyreek Hill,
yeah, and
Garrett
to give
Wilson on the Jets. I mean,
yeah,
the list goes on and on.
We were just talking about this before the show. He gave up no touchdowns to any of those players, no 100-yard games, and not make the Pro Bowl is a bit of a head scratcher. But like you said, it's mostly a popularity contest. That's probably the biggest one that I have doubts about. And then I'm looking at this. Harrison Butker really didn't get selected.
No.
I mean, he only missed 2 field goals this year, and one of them was with an underinflated ball. So that's,
I thought he did.
wow.
I was just like, yeah, you did. Let's go.
Yeah.
News to me.
So, what do you think, Scotty?
I think the regulars are in there. Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes, obviously. Chris Jones. Maybe in one of his – I don't know. It's Chris Jones had such a weird season with the holdout and missing the first game. He's not even to double-digit sacks yet. Now, when you look at pressures and the name recognition, kind of like we were talking about, it's not really a surprise that he made it. To me, what stands out is the defense has clearly been the better unit for the team this year, and 4 of the 5 Pro Bowlers are on offense, and 1 of them are on defense, right? So
Yeah, that's fair.
that's a little strange. But again, it's really just more about people see a name and recognize a name, right?
Completely. Yeah.
Necessarily performance, but L'Jarius Sneed not being on there, Trent McDuffie not being on there is maybe another one. So look, I don't think any of these guys are losing sleep over making or not making the Pro Bowl.
Right. Exactly.
The benchmark is the All Pro teams, right, that are voted on by the press. So those are really what you hear players get excited about, and especially former players, like guys like Mitch Schwartz, and you see him talking on social media and online. They always say, "Yeah, I mean, making the Pro Bowl is cool. You get a free trip to Hawaii, but." You really know it's the All-Pro is really, really where the recognition that kind of resonates and means the most to the players is. But
I don't think they do it in Hawaii anymore, do they?
Yeah, I don't know. They stopped doing that a year or 2 ago. But, I mean, traditionally it was in Hawaii for 20 years or 25 years.
Yeah, yeah.
It was after the Super Bowl, too.
Yeah,
so.
That was when they had it after the Super Bowl, which I don't know why they felt the need to do it before the Super Bowl. But anyway, that's getting off on a tangent we don't really need to get on. Bo, what are your thoughts on Chiefs Pro Bowlers?
No, I mean, not to beat a dead horse. I mean, you guys kind of nailed it all. I don't think these guys are playing to make the Pro Bowl, right? Like they're playing to make the playoffs, playing to make the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl. So this is just cherry on top, icing on the cake for these guys if they get it. It's just a cool little thing they get to put on the old resume at the end of the day. Most of the players I've heard talk about the Pro Bowl don't even really like it. It's kind of a waste of time. Nobody really plays because there's the
See you, Bo.
Get his internet signal figured out or whatever he's got going on down there in the Chiefs cave there. Yeah, I don't know. When I think about the Pro Bowl, I think of Ray Lewis making it in the last 2 or 3 years of his career, where he was definitely not one of the best linebackers in the NFL. So again, I think it balances out. You see guys, until they really get their reputation and get solidified in there, they don't make it. So, if you made the Pro Bowl 3 times, maybe you made it in a couple of years or towards your peak where you maybe didn't deserve to make it as much as somebody else, but then early in the year you didn't make it when you probably deserved to more than somebody that did make it. So, again, it just stands out to me. The funny part is that the defense has been so much better than the offense, and 1 defensive player on the Pro Bowl. Interested to see what the All-Pro votes come out to here in the end, but other Chiefs kind of sort of related news. I know Chris said something about earlier. Tyreek Hill's house caught on fire. Wonder if that's an old Andre Rison left eye or whatever. Remember,
It's the first thing that came to mind, man. Andre Rison
set his clothes on fire in his bathtub and didn't realize it was a fiberglass bathtub, and it's caught the house on fire. But I'm sure Cheetah's got insurance for something like that when you've got I think his house is 25 or 30 million bucks, right? It's in Florida.
It's sick. I know that much.
So just glad no one was hurt. I guess he was at practice when it happened, and someone came and got him and took him to his house. I just heard it click. Maybe Bo's back with us.
Looks
I
like
don't
he's
know if
coming
Bo's
back.
watching. Bo's on his way back. There
Bo,
he
do you
is.
have a wife that cuts the feed too to
My
your
wife
internet?
just
That's what-
yeah, no shit. I was gonna say it. My wife just unplugged the router. No, I don't know what that was. That was weird. All of a sudden, you guys just went black.
Yeah.
No, yeah, please. Sorry, continue on.
Oh no! You should finish up your thoughts about the Pro Bowl. Anybody that's not on there that you think maybe should be, or other than
Oh yeah, I was
Snead?
just saying it's a worthless game. Players aren't really into it, so I don't think these guys really care about it. As far as like snub, yeah, L'Jarius Sneed. How do you ignore that guy? Name a top 10 receiver in the league. Like, I mean, against the teams that we played, which I mean it was most of them. Jamar
Right.
Chase, Jetty, who's the Lions guy? Etienne or not Etienne? St.
Amon-Ra
Brown.
St. Brown.
Yeah, St. Brown. Like, dude, like he just Wilson
Tyreek Hill.
in New York, Tyreek Hill just shut all those guys down, dude. And like
Right.
that's I don't know how he got snubbed and Chris Jones makes that. Or like, and I'm gonna say it, Carl Aftis, I feel like got snubbed. I feel like if Jones is gonna be on there, if you're looking at all the
Yeah.
pressures and sacks, he completely outplayed Chris Jones this year for defensive player of the year on the Chiefs anyway. So
Yeah, Karlaftis, I think he's got a full sack more than Chris Jones this year, 10.5, and CJ's at
Yeah.
9.5. So
yeah.
a couple of big sacks too in that Bengals game, which we'll get to here pretty quick.
I saw a
We were
stat that Karlaftis is ahead career-wise in sacks from where Tom Bahali was at this point in his career.
Pass rushers
Oh, wow.
are like the wide receiver position. They usually take a year or two to really develop for whatever reason. Tougher spot to play, obviously on the defensive line. But yeah, George Karlaftis impressing in his sophomore year after a really solid second half of his rookie year. He finished out last year where he
Yeah.
had 6 or 7 straight games, including the playoffs there, where he had a sack. So good for him.
You could see it building all year last year too. Like we even
Yeah.
mentioned it. Like he's just like a half step, and then it was like a
Mhm.
quarter step, and then like he's getting there. He's there now, man. That dude's
Yeah.
developed
Our man
well.
John C's pointing out Tommy Townsend maybe is a snub there on special teams. So yeah, Tommy
Townsend had like 56 or 58-yard fair catch earlier this season. And if you think
Yeah.
about how far you kick the ball
Yes,
to get it,
yeah.
you know, and to have it high enough that that's a fair catch, yeah, that's another snub. But I guess they can't send every player from the Chiefs. So
yeah, but
They ain't
congratulations.
going anywhere.
Right. Let's hope not.
There's a Super Bowl in the way.
Yeah, exactly. Congratulations to the Chiefs players that were selected. Maybe better luck next year. And like we were just
Yeah,
saying,
definitely.
the All-Pro votes will come out, and that's really the cream of the crop when it comes to the NFL. So we were talking about Tyreek Hill's house that caught on fire, kind of going back to the old Andre Rison, Chiefs wide receiver.
I thought that was metaphorically. I didn't hear that.
Oh.
I heard about like all the legal
Yeah.
battles and stuff he's having, paternity tests and stuff. I thought that was a joke.
no,
Maybe
house
an
caught on
insurance
fire
claim
too,
there
huh?
to
That
get
happened
some
too.
money for some of that child support he's going to have to start dishing out here at some point. But just glad everyone's all right and glad the Cheetah's okay. You know, Cheetah likes to talk and kind of throw some shade back here at Kansas City, but I think most of Kansas City still appreciates it and wishes well for Tyreek Hill. So, yeah, no, that's a good point by Kevin there. So, Sky Moore, I don't know what that
he's not
says
making
about
the
his-
Pro Bowl this year.
Yeah, I mean, another snub for the Pro Bowl. The Joe Bowl, maybe. I don't know about the Pro Bowl, but
The Puppy Bowl
yeah,
during the halftime show.
be interested to see what happens with maybe Sky Moore can be in the punt, pass, and kick at the halftime, like Bo was saying, or something. Maybe that's more his speed. But interesting to see. Sky Moore's future with the Chiefs is kind of turbulent right now, I would say. But let's just talk about this game against the Bengals. Chiefs win 25-17 against the Cincinnati Bengals, the arch nemesis right now, I would say, for the Chiefs in the AFC and probably all of the NFL. Rematch of
bigger
last year,
rivalries.
the last 2 AFC championship games. Chiefs win, and not only do they wrap up their 16th total AFC West division title, 8th consecutive, They end the Bengals season, knocking them out of playoff contention, which just puts a smile on my face. God, that's got to piss Bengals fans off, doesn't it? I mean, Nick, what do you think Bengals fans are thinking right now after their season ends?
I mean,
To the
I
same
hope
team
it
in
pisses them off.
the same stadium a year later, this time without even making the postseason. How down are Bengals fans right now?
Yeah, you look. They had to expect this because their first string QB got hurt. So I don't want to take too many victory laps on being a backup quarterback. I know that he had the same winning percentage, I guess, as Joe Burrow did this year, but I'm not going to take too many victory laps on that. But I will say that to have your season ended, effectively ended. I mean, they have one more game, but effectively ended by the same team 2 years in a row. Especially after just all the smack talk, right? All the smack talk, like before the AFC Championship game with Burrowhead, and then all the smack talk about how they signed Orlando Brown Jr. in the offseason. Then to have all the smack talk even leading into this game, whether they're calling it Browning head or whatever, saying, oh, we're going to come in there, we're still going to whip your ass. Jamar Chase saying there's nothing impressive about our defense to then have the Chiefs just snatch that hope 30 of a season berth away from you. Probably doesn't feel very good. But hey, that's what happens when you talk smack, dude. Like when you talk a lot of shit, like you better back it up, or else you're gonna look silly and feel foolish. So
yeah, Nick apparently is a closeted Bengals fan now for some reason, not wanting to rip on the Bengals too much. Bo,
no, I'm not saying I want to rip on the Bengals, but I'm just saying that they didn't have their first string quarterback. I mean, if we were playing a backup quarterback and they beat us, like we wouldn't be sitting there. That's my only point.
I would fully expect them to talk shit, so I'm going to talk shit right now.
If our backup quarterback came in and performed at Mahomes level or better, I would fully expect the Bengals fan base to come in and hold no mercy.
Okay, I'm in the minority on this one. I get it.
No, I mean, yeah, what a great game, dude. Holding their offense again scoreless. I think, like 5 minutes into the second quarter, they stopped scoring or something like that. 7 minutes. Yeah. I can't remember when they stopped scoring, but didn't score the second half. Just another stellar performance by the defense this game. Man, you hear the old adage, defense wins championships, man. So we'll see. I mean, they've been holding it together. They keep us in games, and we saw it in this game. They held us in there. Let Bucker kick 6 field goals to secure that victory. I'd really like to see our offense start to click a little bit more in the red zone, but I mean, dude, it's as sad as it is to say this late in the season. There's a lot of potential still there, and so we're gonna get into it later about resting versus playing. But I'm gonna go ahead and spoiler my position. I'm a big advocate of these guys getting out there and playing next week and getting more reps and just sharpen up for this playoff run that we're gonna have to go on.
Yeah, I don't know about that. We'll have to get into more of that debate here in a little bit, but. Yeah, when it comes to the Jamar Chase thing, right? I mean, there's smack talkers, there's people that talk smack, and then there's people that smack talkers, right? And the Chiefs just went out and smacked the talkers around. They didn't need to talk smack.
They write the checks.
L'Jarius Sneed after the game said, just check the stats. That's all that really matters. That's all there really was to be said. Jamar Chase was held, under 40 yards in that game? They had 35 or 36 yards receiving.
30-yard game.
Catches. Didn't do anything. Was not a threat at all. Outside of how the biggest play was where he drew pass interference on L'Jarius Sneed, which if you watch the replay, he was holding Sneed as much as Sneed was holding him. So, you mentioned Nick L'Jarius Sneed getting a lot of penalties. At some point, the guy's got to get a reputation of being a good enough lockdown corner to where you think you'd see some of those penalties maybe not be called. A lot of these corners in their prime that are known as shutdown, lockdown corners, defensive backs. I mean, Darrelle Revis comes to mind. Some of those guys, right? Sauce Gardner, they don't get the penalties. So maybe L'Jarius Sneed finds himself getting into that range here at some point.
That's a big ask, man.
Probably reach that level of status or whatever as soon as he leaves the Chiefs.
Right. Let's see.
I've yet to see the referees give Chiefs cornerbacks the benefit of the doubt I mean,
Yeah. When was the last time we had a lockdown corner on this team? I mean, I know Charvarius Ward was pretty good, but he wasn't a
Good point.
lockdown corner, I don't think.
Not to this caliber.
Marcus Peters.
probably, yeah.
I mean,
I mean-
Marcus Peters threw penalty flags on himself and into the stands, and so
Before that,
guy
we had
was
Brandon
never-
Carr and Brandon Flowers, I guess. But I mean, that's
Yeah.
reaching pretty far back. So
Right. Yeah, and even those guys, I don't know if anybody ever referred to them as
Yeah, I wouldn't-
lockdown. Maybe.
Yeah,
They're
not.
pretty good.
Yeah,
A
exactly. They're good,
lockdown
though.
man to me, like, is someone that the PFF put out there that Jerry Sneed has 570 coverage snaps this year without allowing a touchdown, which is by far the most of any secondary player in the league.
That's so good, dude.
Yeah,
He's not even in the conversation for Defensive Player of the Year, is he? Not that I've heard of.
not that I've heard. Our man Dylan saying he would love to retain Sneed. So would I. I really.
Oh yeah.
Maybe we can talk about that here. We'll just talk about it now before
Sure.
we move on. Jerry Sneed, we kind of discussed this question a few weeks back, and I've noticed it's getting a lot of talk now on some of the other Chiefs shows and media. Chris Jones or L'Jarius Sneed, I went back and watched the video. You can go check it out on our X account or in the history here on YouTube. I think both of you guys said Chris Jones.
Yeah.
Did you change your position at all in there? If you re-sign one of the two, Bo?
Yeah, I jumped my gun because I remember saying something like gun to my head right now. If I had to make the decision, it'd be Chris Jones or something like that. Right. And then, just watching the season progress, thinking about more of like future investment kind of aspect for the team. I'm definitely considering Sneed a little bit more, definitely changing my opinion on that one. I mean, again, it's no discredit to Chris Jones or anything, but after the weird start, as you mentioned, to this season and like the kind of the lack of delivery that he had on some promises at the beginning of the season that he would, he would come in and do such and such, just didn't perform that well. So I don't know, like Sneed he came to work this year, dude. I mean, he was noticeably all over the field. Like we said, covering down or locking down number one receivers day in, day out. I would definitely change my opinion on that one. I'd go with Sneed. What about you, Nick?
Yeah, I think my argument was that we had Trent McDuffie, right? But we don't really have anybody that can cover with Chris Jones out. But if you look at the way that George Karlaftis is playing, I know he's not the interior, he's an edge rusher, but he can get sacks, right? And that's the big thing is like Chris Jones is just so disruptive and can get sacks in key moments. And then we don't even know like if King Felix is going to be good because we've got so many ballers that he hasn't even really seen the field yet. We've got Hugh, so I would say that coupled with the age factor, you can see how this Von Miller contract has really played out for the Bills and paying him like a huge contract on the wrong side of 30. They haven't really gotten the value out of that, so I mean. Yeah, you're probably looking at Sneed being the safer bet, right? And at a at a premium position. So,
yeah, I was thinking about that. I said Sneed. I would probably still go with Sneed just based on how much longer I think the guys are going to play in their prime years. But Chris Jones, I feel like the guy's cost himself some money this year.
Easily, yeah.
So I could see a situation where maybe you go to Chris and his price tag's dropped a little bit, so maybe you give him a deal front loaded a little bit for next season with the cap increasing. You still got lots of guys on rookie deals. You've got other guys that you could cut bait with and save some money. Number 11 comes to mind. And maybe you do a franchise tag on Sneed and say, hey, look, man, like you're going to get top 5 money this year, and then we'll rework your deal next year. And maybe you buy yourself a year and you can keep both of those guys. So I don't know that it's a foregone conclusion really at this point that they have to get
one
rid
or the other, right?
One or the other. But and I'm obviously not a capologist. Maybe that's nonsense too. I don't know. I might be talking about something out of my depth here a little bit, but I could definitely see a situation where with Chris Jones' production coming down, like I said, you can pay him a little bit less than you thought you were going to have to going into this year, and you buy yourself a little bit of time with that franchise tag, and Sneed gets himself a healthy payday for next year. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see what they do. I would love to see Snead come back. I will be buying a L'Jarius Snead jersey the day I hear that a contract extension has been signed. So I'm hopeful. Fingers crossed they get that done. But back to this Bengals game. Just overall thoughts before we kind of talk more about how the game went and what we thought and players of the game, what we thought it means moving forward. Nick, overall thoughts?
I mean, it was good to win, but overall thoughts of the
At
game.
home.
Well, yeah, good to win at home after losing 3 straight at home. They said that Mahomes had never done that before. It was a frustrating game to watch. I mean, it was frustrating at the beginning with our defense really, just not getting off the field on third down and giving up, a couple of touchdowns. Now, one of those really, some of those points really weren't their fault, but with a turnover. But and then the other side of it was, man, there just seems like there is a wall as soon as the Chiefs get into or inside the 10-yard line right now. And it's really difficult to watch their offense operate like that because you're used to seeing the Chiefs be able to convert at a really high level and high percentage rate in the red zone. And really, it feels like once they get inside the 10, they really have no sort of vertical game, vertical plan. And it's really just, kind of throwing everything to the side, sideways passes. But so, it was frustrating, but it was good to see them grind out a win. And I mean, a spark of hope there. There was a couple of really good deep pass plays that, we really hadn't seen a lot of. Really nice throw and catch to Watson on that one
buddy.
play. I mean, I can't, based on the defenders coming at him and where he had the ball and he didn't have it tucked away. Really impressive to see him complete that catch. And then Rashee Rice, just, seeing a blown mistake in the coverage and taking advantage of it, and Mahomes, connecting with him. That's kind of that next level chemistry that you haven't seen him develop with some of these other guys.
Right.
He throws the ball and it seems like they don't know where they're both going to be. One guy thinks he's going to go left and then he goes right. So there's some hope there. But we've talked about this before. When the defense is playing the way they're playing, like, we're going to be in every game. So the fact that after a couple of long drives to start, that the defense is able to kind of lock it down, it was really promising to see, that the defense is still there and they're going to travel in the postseason. So,
yeah, Big Doug brings up a good point. Time of possession in that first quarter and a half were so ridiculously lopsided. I made the comment watching the game there at the house about I don't know what it is about the Chiefs' offense and defense never being able to play good at the same time my entire life. But God, I mean, the defense comes out and they go down and they only gave up field goal off the bat, right? Long kind of sustained drive, maybe a little fluky. Browning, the quarterback for the Bengals, looked like Steve Young or something out there running, getting first downs, picking up, moving the chains with his legs. Got down, stalled out. Defense holds him to 3. So you think, okay, Ben, don't break here. That'll get it done for us. And then the offense comes out and they have their first opening drive touchdown of the season at home. Looked really good in doing so.
Looked good.
Field.
Yeah.
Nick, you mentioned there being a wall at the 10-yard line. They got down to the 10 or 11. Mahomes finds Pacheco on a nice little route right in the middle of the field, zips a laser beam touchdown pass to him, and you're thinking, okay, here we go. And then the defense just capitulates and falls apart and gives up another long sustained drive. This time they give up the touchdown, and you're just thinking, what does this team have to do to put together a performance where the defense and offense both play their A game at the same time? Man, that defense kind of really got it figured out after that. They gave up another touchdown on a short field. Nick, you said one of your keys to the game was going to be turnovers. Chiefs give up a strip sack.
When that happened, I wanted to throw up. I was just like, this is like the one thing I said couldn't happen.
Right. I mean, Chiefs got the ball there. Yeah. They're got the ball back with a chance to go back and retake the lead, and then number 64, left tackle. He's a rookie. He's kind of been thrown into the fire a little ahead of schedule, so I don't want to beat up on the guy too much, but just gets burned by Hendrickson, which is one of the better defensive linemen pass rushers in the league. So I don't know there's a lot of shame in that necessarily, but knocks the ball out of Mahomes' hand. Bengals recover the fumble, go right down, score the touchdown right, and then what are you guys thinking at that point, right? 17-7. How are you feeling when the Bengals got the turnover, went down and scored a touchdown? Nick?
The opposite of good is how I felt.
Right. Not good.
Yeah, I mean,
Bad.
yeah, just it was I wasn't in a hopeful place at that point in time. It just the way that our offense, and I know that we had a good drive there, but just kind of the way our offense has performed when we get these double-digit deficits in games, there's like not insurmountable, but man, you just don't feel like you did a couple of years ago when you're in that spot. And you're like, well, okay, 10, 14 points, like that ain't shit. You know what I mean? Now it feels like, okay, we're going to have to really grind it out on defense and play smart on offense to climb out of this. You're not going to come out of that in 2 or 3 minutes of gameplay like we've seen happen in previous seasons.
No, yeah, dude. Like you're at that point, right? Like I can't say that I've ever felt defeated ever since Mahomes come at any point, or Mahomes has been playing since. Let me start over. I don't feel like I've ever felt defeated at any point since Mahomes has taken the helm here, right? Like he's come back and just led such ridiculous comebacks that
Right.
you just can't give up hope, right? They're just like, we still have 15, we still have Andy Reid and all this stuff. But there's just something about this offense where, like, yeah, to Nick's credit, you're just like, I just don't have as much hope in this team coming back and just like really securing this victory. But like, I go back and watch the replays and the highlights, and like you watch that first drive as you're mentioning, and like you're telling me like that this offense isn't ridiculously impressive when it wants to be. Like 5-6 plays, we go down and score. Like, you know what I mean? Like, where has that been all season? And then like, I don't know, we can't do it again. Yeah, I mean, hats off to the defense for keeping us in most of these games because they could have been way worse. But yeah, when that strip sack happened, my immediate thoughts was to Nick and like just to show, like we've been saying it all year, just like that's the one thing we got to win, the turnover battle. We win the turnover battle, we win the game usually, right?
Yeah, your defense is so good that like as long as you don't turn the ball over, you're probably going to be okay.
Exactly. And like, like even though we struggled to score, I still feel like our offense, like when we called the right plays, that like when they finally like realized the timing of the game and the offense was out there, like realizing what's going on, like you could see the offense like, oh, hey, yeah, we can do this. And then just for some reason, the red zone can't get it past that end zone line for some reason. So yeah.
And it was really, we'll talk about the offense and some guys that performed too, but really the momentum, the turning point in the game was the stop on 4th down right down there at our own end zone. Chiefs are looking like they could be down really big at that
right.
point. Bengals,
Willie Gay coming up huge.
I thought curiously kind of went for it there instead of kicking the field goal.
Yeah, I didn't agree with that call by them either.
I get that they're trying to put the nail in the coffin, but it's a little bit early even for that, even with the Chiefs' offensive struggles. You're on the road. You don't take the 3 points right there to make it 20-7 at that point, I believe, right?
Dude, I think they're looking at numbers, right? Like you score over 20 points on the Chiefs this year, you have a good shot at winning almost, So,
yeah, but I mean, that puts you at 20 with an entire 2.5 quarters left to play to get past 20. I don't know.
They probably weren't sitting there thinking like, hey, we're not going to score again.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was an aggressive move. They went for a kill shot, and it backfired on him. Willie Gay makes a really, really nice play after he kind of got olayed on a poor tackle attempt.
Olayed, is that what you said?
That allowed Browning to get in. That's exactly what he did. He kind of like did the old moved out of him. He ran right by him, right? It looked like Willie Gay was going to knock Browning back into the other end zone. I mean, he was flying.
Knock him into another universe.
And Brownie, you could tell, like, made that last minute decision. He was going to go for the touchdown, and I thought it was good. I thought he was going to get crushed, man. I thought he was going to get crushed, but made a nifty little move there. Like I said, Olayed him and just kind of sidestepped into the end zone. But so Willie Gay kind of makes up for the play there. Chiefs get the ball back. They moved the ball really well on offense, I thought, this game.
Yeah, I did too.
Isaiah Pacheco, at one point in the game, was averaging like 17 or 18 yards a carry.
Yeah, I think he finished with like 8 or 7 yards a carry or something like that. Ridiculously high.
He came back from shoulder surgery,
right? A couple weeks ago.
Concussion
protocol.
It's out of the protocol I think on Saturday, and then has that game.
Yeah. Kudos to that man. Nick, what did you see out of Pacheco? He's a guy we've talked about in the show being a good running back, but maybe not a great running back. We've kind of gone over where we think he's at, top 10, top 12. Looked really good against the Bengals, whose defense isn't really necessarily all that great. But think that's something we can lean on maybe rolling forward, moving into the playoffs here.
Good defense and running game. I mean, it'll take you far. I mean, it didn't take Marty Schottenheimer far, but
I was about to say, man.
For this franchise, for other franchises,
it'll take you far. That's what I've heard. Anyway, no, look. I mean, Isaiah Pacheco, he's a really explosive player, right?
Can be.
The thing that is kind of missing from his game, I think, is in what's hurting the Chiefs with several of our playmakers so far is we're getting very close to, but not getting a home run shot.
Right. Yeah.
And you see where they bust loose and it's like they just like need to make like one more guy miss, and Pacheco didn't get it, or Rice, didn't get it. And then those end up in field goals. And so I think that those are kind of the things where, like, I don't want to be, overly negative because they're having these really nice plays. But I think that we're going to need to see some of those turn into touchdowns if we want to make it in the postseason, right? But overall, like I said, you consider where he was, with his shoulder and then with the concussion, to come out and have that game. Hats off to him. I mean, that's a tough ass dude right there, and he was running hard, man. He didn't take any plays off, and he ran all over him. So. Yeah,
one of the players on another team, an NFL player, his name is escaping me at the moment, but put the post out that got recirculated, got a bunch of reposts and likes and views. Was that like Pacheco looks like he runs like he bites people, which I thought was a pretty good
biting the air for sure. I feel like he like the water boy, right? He's making noises when he's running, like.
Yeah,
or something, dude. Yeah. Like he runs too aggressively to not.
Yeah. Bo, Isaiah Pacheco, is that something the Chiefs can use moving forward? Do you think that could be like a launching point for him?
Most definitely, man. Like we were kind of going back and forth last week a little bit, going like, is he top 10? Like you said, top 12, right? I think it definitely solidified his position as like a top 10 quarterback. I don't think anybody's going to argue that point now. And yeah, dude, we've been high on this guy since he came in, right? Like when last season, I can remember when there was the running back battle for who was our number one. We're like, it's this dude Pacheco, right? Like maybe McKinnon, but like Pacheco's something else. So we've been high on him ever since he was the third guy. So it's just nice to see him kind of develop and be the guy that we've always kind of thought he was going to be. And I definitely think we can lean on him, man. I think the whole league now knows about him to where like you got to account for him being on the field. And I could anticipate like using him in the sense that like maybe we don't run him as hard as we did this game, but like a lot more play actions, right? Like using him as decoys, getting defenders to bite on him a little bit more.
Yeah. The thing about Isaiah Pacheco, like last week, the weird thing is last week before he got injured, he wasn't getting any yards on the ground. I mean, they couldn't get the running game going at all against the Raiders. So maybe it's a matchup thing. The Bengals defense is pretty poor. Not that the Raiders defense is all world or world beaters or anything like that. But I would love, and maybe it's just I don't know that it's something he can do, but the thing about him, he just doesn't make the first guy miss. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know what it is. I don't know if he's just not like elusive or if he doesn't have that quick change of direction like some of these other running backs you see have. But once he gets ahead of steam going and it gets a crease, yeah, he can get going. And not that he needs to rush
You got
for
to build up
130
that
yards.
momentum going. You got to
Right,
get it
right.
evened out.
Not that he needs to get 130 yards every week for the Chiefs to run, but just put it out there and be enough of a threat, like you mentioned, to get some play action going and make the defense a little bit more honest and maybe creep up a little bit. So definitely a great game by the running back. It was all him too, because Clyde Edwards-Helaire was out with sickness. Jarrett McKinnon is on IR with the injury right now. They brought up Pirine and the other guy, which I can't think of his name now, as running back. They had Pirine in there at one point, and I want to say it was like a second or third and short, and I was thinking, please don't hand the ball to him. Please don't hand the ball to the guy.
He hasn't played all year. Please don't do this.
They didn't. So it was all him.
Don't
He
snap
was
it
the
to
running
him.
game. I mean, so props to that guy. He manned up, had a hell of a game, like Nick mentioned, too, especially coming back from a couple of injuries there, man. Stepped up big time. The other guy that stepped up big time was Rashee Rice. This guy, a lot of it's volume based because there's really no other receiver on the Chiefs team that's really done a whole lot the last 4 or 5 weeks, but he's got like top 2 or 3 yards and all wide receivers the last 5 or 6 weeks.
Let alone rookies.
He's he's in top 3 in yards and touchdowns by rookies when you look at his rookie class and his peers from this last draft. So had the longest play of the year for the Chiefs. Like Nick mentioned, it kind of like guys hitting triples instead of home runs. You'd like to not have to worry about knocking them in from third there, but it's putting you in position and moving the chains. Rashee Rice coming alive here this last month, second half of the season, kind of saving the Chiefs bacon at wide receiver, right?
Yeah, and what a time to do it, right? Right when like everybody's against the Chiefs for being like, oh, they don't have any receivers. Like, oh, actually, no, we have this one dude that's crushing it in every metric you've ever heard of. Best wide receiver rookie for Chiefs franchise history. I mean, I know Tyreek Hill's numbers were a little bit, off just because they tried him at running back for so much. But
right. He was to play wide receiver.
He's a return guy too, right?
Still technically the most productive rookie the Chiefs have ever seen, right? 7 touchdowns, running it close up to 1,000 yards. I mean, the glimmer of hope we needed when like everything else looked like it was falling apart in the receiving room. So no, hats off to the guy. He's coming through clutch. He hasn't been the most consistent all season, but for a rookie dude, I mean, this is when you need him to come through, right? Right at the end, he's getting good right when we need him to. We just need everybody else to kind of follow his lead a little bit.
Nick, what are you seeing out of Rashee Rice? What are you liking about his game right now?
I mentioned it earlier, just that he appears like he's building more and more rapport with Mahomes, which is a huge development. They both saw that coverage broke and that he took advantage of it and he turned it into the biggest play we've had this year. I mean, to me, that is a huge piece of development right there at the end of the season. And then just, the drops have seemed like they've gone away, right? I'm probably jinxed it now, but it just seems like, he's getting steadier hands and he's turning some stuff into big plays. I mean, we really haven't had anybody that's making big catches outside of Watson, right? For the whole season, really. I mean, Kelsey's had some nice plays, but his stuff he's typically like over the middle, right? He's not. I mean, Kelsey, he's a tight end. He's not going deep. But if we get a second deep threat, it's going to be huge. And so that's really what I'm excited about, is seeing more of a downfield passing game start to develop. And because he's been kind of limited to bubble screens and kind of quick slant type throws. So
Yeah, I just went and checked. Our man Jethro sent me
Generic
a.
Prince. Good.
Yeah,
good
maybe it was
call,
Prince.
Nancy. Thank you.
Right. Our man Jethro sent me a Rashid Rice stat that he said if I didn't get it in the show this week, he was going to kick my ass. So I got to make sure I get this stat in here for our
Better
man
get that
Jethro.
in the show, man.
I don't want to get my ass kicked. Rashid Rice has the 4th most yards of any player in the NFL since week 12 with 518 receiving yards.
That's
4th most
impressive.
receiving. That's all players. 4th most receiving yards. So, yeah, the guy has really come to life. The thing I liked about it this last week was there was no fumbles and there was no drops from Rashid Rice this week.
Yeah, exactly.
That's been the thing that was holding him back, really, from being a star all season was the guy was not catching the ball, and he was putting the ball on the ground too often. Those are killer mistakes that were killing drives, and we've talked about the turnover issue, right, ad nauseum all year. So, man, if that guy can clean that up and keep going the way he is, especially looking into next year, if they can get another guy in the draft to complement him, oh, man, guy could really, really take off. So, kudos to Rice. Love seeing that, man. Patrick Mahomes
Dude,
said it too.
he's
He said,
so
I've been working
big
with him.
too. Sorry
No,
to
yeah.
cut you off there. He's
No,
so
you're fine.
big too. Like going to the games
big,
live,
strong
and you
guy.
get like a better sense of how big these guys are. I mean, you see him next to a DB or a safety or something. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that deep threat, like Nick's saying. Like that guy should be able to go up and get balls over those guys. He's huge.
Yeah, it could be kind of like that X receiver. And Patrick Mahomes said it too there after the game. He goes, I've been working with him to get them knees up so he can get in the end zone. So, yeah, maybe he can get a little bit more speed and work on the angles a little bit. So maybe turn some of those long plays into touchdowns, not have to worry about the red zone struggles. So Harrison Butker in this game, I wonder how many fantasy
Crushed
football
it.
leagues Harrison Butker won for people this last week. 6 field goals, 4 of them 40 beyond, and 1 or 2 of them at 50 yards beyond. Harrison Butker, what a story that guy has been. After last year, the struggles the man had to get it together at the end of the year and have the game-winning kick in the AFC Championship game and then the Super Bowl, and then followed up with an almost perfect season this year.
Deflategate.
Yeah, one of those kicks.
2.0.
The ball was supposedly underinflated, so I'm just really happy for that guy, man. He seems like a really nice guy, solid guy, right? You can tell people on the team love him. The post game, the locker room video that the Chiefs put out after the game. Patrick was like, "How about Butt, man?" He's like, "This dude here's clutch." Like, and the whole team was clapping and jumping and putting their arms around him. So good to see that out of that man. They're going to need him come playoff time. The guy is a weapon, and he's reestablished himself as one of the best kickers, right? I mean, up there with Tucker and maybe the guy from the Dolphins is maybe one of the top 2-3 kickers in the NFL. Nick?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, how many guys in the NFL currently have won an AFC Championship and a Super Bowl, but with kicks? I mean, I don't. So, I mean, you just know that not only does he have range, but he's reliable and he doesn't crumble under pressure. I mean, so those are all the things you want in a kicker. And you know, he's so humble. I don't know if did you listen to his post-game press conference, because he's sitting there talking about, I see these other guys, and you know, like McPherson, I think is his name, from the Bengals, and even him and the way he kicks the ball, and then I look at how I kick the ball, and I don't really feel like I'm as good, and you know, and so it keeps him, I guess, pushing. But it's like, I don't know, man, like
kind of nailed it there.
Maybe you should start you know, elevating where you think you are. But yeah, it's great to see. And he said also that, you know, he's excited to see what he can do when he feels good for the whole season. He was evidently pretty banged up last year after that slipped on the turf. And so that definitely impacted his accuracy. But yeah, he's a weapon, dude. He's a guy that you feel confident going out on the field to go win the game in the postseason. That's exactly what you want.
Yeah. Bo, you have anything to add on Harrison Butker? Or?
No, yeah, it's such a weird position to be so clutch at, right? Like you don't play all game. You sit there
Right.
on the sidelines. It's cold. You're bored. And they're like, "Hey, you got to go make the most clutch shot of the game, right?" And like he just does it in and out. And like, yeah, he got so much flack last year, undeservedly so, for like as Nick pointed out, getting hurt in that first game. Scott and I were there. We watched it. We watched him try to muscle through it. And I mean, he tried, man, and I think he might have hurt himself more doing that. Which led to a whole series of weird things last year, kicker wise. We saw Justin Reed kick a field goal, right? It was pretty strange, but what a clutch
Right, and
guy
an
to
extra
come
point.
through. Yeah, and an extra point, like but like he battles back, and he still was pretty much injured all last year and was having to play the fade that developed from his injury. And this year it's just been lasers. Just I don't see. I called it the Butker fade last year, just like my golf swing, just drifts left every time. Didn't see that once this time. I mean, he was on point, and like Nick said, that's what all you can ask for at this point. And dude, I feel like our guys are really starting to come through right when we need them. Right here as we're making our postseason run. So I'm stoked that we're at where we're at.
Yeah. Kind of finally, we talked about the defense earlier. Willie Gay made the kind of like the play that turned the tide, shift the momentum for the Chiefs, but that pass rush there at the end, when Butker made that last field goal to make it an 8-point game, the Bengals can still go down and score a touchdown and get a 2-point conversion and send that thing to overtime. They put an all-out assault on the Bengals quarterback and the pass rush. Justin Reed had a couple plays back-to-back where he had a sack. George Karlaftis got a sack. Chris Jones got a sack. I think I saw a stat where they said in those last two drives they hit Browning like 9 or 10 times.
Yeah, there was a ton.
And sacks put on there. That pass rush, they need that to come really alive here, and with the playoffs coming up. So props to the defense for pitching another shutout in the second half.
Sorry, I want to talk about this pass rush a little bit before we kind of jump off.
Yeah, no.
For some reason, like the most criticism I'm seeing online about this game is like, oh yeah, but Burrow wasn't in there. Like, tell me what would have been different about that, or what would have been different about that O line had Burrow been in there, that you're not gonna stop. What was it, 6, 7 sacks that game? Like it was a ton.
6, I think. Yeah, no,
6?
and almost all of them right there at the end.
Yeah.
Just suffocated them to basically end the game when they had to convert. It was impressive.
That's what
and
you
on
call
Orlando Brown Jr. too, right? Like, did you guys notice that?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what you call putting your foot on their neck, right? That was what the Chiefs pass rush did at the end of that game.
Finally, yeah.
Old friend Orlando Brown Jr. got smoked by George Karlaftis for a couple of those sacks there. Bengals offensive line has never really been all that good. Joe Burrow, he's not some elusive guy. I mean, I would almost say that Browning looks more mobile than Joe Burrow, right?
Yeah, completely. But I feel like last year we couldn't get to Joe Burrow for some reason.
He's pretty elusive. I mean, Burrow's good at evading sacks, but it was exactly what happened at the end of the AFC Championship game last year. The pass rush came alive and ended their final bid, and then they ended up losing the game.
Yeah. You got Brenda and John C., I think, talking about the little scuffle or whatever you want to call it between Omenihu and Willie Gay. That was not long after Willie Gay whiffed on that tackle.
Yeah.
The Ole!
And he had arguably the biggest defensive play of the game.
Yeah, I don't know if Omenihu maybe said something to him about his effort or technique or letting him get in the end zone that play, but Willie Gay was not a happy man.
Hey, hats off to Omenihu. He lit that fire right under his rear end there, dude.
There you go. Yeah, and the kudos to the Chiefs PA operator there that played the music. Willie Gay said, "Man, put swag surfing on there, man. That's what we need to get turned up in here." And they played the song, and then he gets the big play to change the game and kind of do a 180 there. So defense is still looking like playoff ready, championship caliber defense. If the offense can get some of these passing games going. I don't even want to talk about number 11 in this game.
Are you sure? Look at your name. Oh, wrong period. Look at your name right here.
This guy, Is it just because they have to pay him $11 million this year? Is that why he's still out there so much?
Yeah.
What is it? Why the guy is not? He's to a point now where he drops more than he catches.
Did you see him? I don't know if you guys noticed this, right? This is a very subtle detail in the game that I noticed. He makes his first catch, and it's a pretty good catch, like 7 or 8 yards. I think it's for a first down conversion, right? He pulls his gloves down and then spits on him, and then proceeds not to catch a ball the rest of the game. Like, what are you doing, dude? You jinxed yourself.
And then to like show up Patrick by complaining that the ball was slightly behind him on that crossing pattern that cost the Chiefs a touchdown right there before the half. After the guy has took arrows for you all season long. I mean, go back to the Eagles game where he dropped the game-winning pass and it hits him in the fingers, right? And Patrick's like, well, I could have thrown it a little shorter, made it a little bit of an easier catch for him. And then you do that where he puts his hands, he's kind of like complaining about like the placement of the ball. If you watch that play, Patrick, the pocket is collapsing on him and he's getting hit. And he kind of like 3/4 does that little pass. He did not have a chance to step up in there, and it was not a clean pocket. That guy, I'm sorry, man, he needs to sit. He is too much of a liability. You cannot have
so
him
inconsistent
dropping the passes that he's dropping when the playoffs come around. That's the stuff that haunts you. That's the stuff that kills you. That's the stuff that the Chiefs did.
Takes points off the board.
Lost them playoff games for 20 years. Nick, number 11, what is it about him that you think is getting him on the field so much still?
I think he gets open, and they're probably just sitting there thinking, look, eventually he's going to snap out and be able to catch the ball. That's what I'm. That and they're paying him $11 million, so
he hasn't.
He's getting paid $11 million. He has 21 catches, so he's making over $500,000 a catch. So I think that's a combination of those two things. Like he's being paid as much or more as any other. They don't have any other receivers outside of Kelsey making that kind of money.
No, not at all.
Yeah, so he's making the most money out of anybody in the wide receiver group, and he does get open, and so I think that's the thing, and but yeah, it's obvious, right? It couldn't be more obvious that he just whatever's going on upstairs is preventing him from being able to make the play when he needs to. And it's not like we don't want him to make the play, like we want him to suck. I don't want to sit here and talk about how he had another couple of key drops. But that's just the way it is. That's what's going on. The media talked to him about it a couple of weeks ago, and he just acted like what are you talking about? Like nothing's happened to me that hasn't happened to anybody else. It's just very, very odd. But yeah, I just think that they just keep trotting him out there because he's making the most money.
Yeah,
dude. I think you hit the nail right on the head, really, dude. I think he's open probably because they designed the plays around him, right? He was supposed to be that number one receiver. He was supposed to be the veteran to come in, kind of take that juju role. And so you have the home run route, and then if that's obviously not you're going to go to your immediately safe route. Then you're check down, right? And so I think he had the benefit of having play design for him. And the Chiefs, Andy Reid and company are notorious for giving their guys their shot that they invest in, right? We've seen it with CEH. Like we said it all last year, pretty much the majority of this year. And he's had a couple good games. I'm not trying to rag on CEH and bring him down on the show, but dude, it's eerily similar to that for me. Like they're like, we spent all this money, we got to use them at least. And results or not to, it's just unfortunate.
Yeah, but you'd be paying him, and he could be not dropping the ball on the bench. Dylan asked the question here about who would you think to step up. Just split his reps up between Watson and Richie James. Those guys at least shown the ability to catch the damn ball.
I think we started seeing that this game. I definitely saw Richie James start stepping up a little bit more, or they're calling his number a little bit more this last game.
Yeah, so I don't know, but that's like Big Doug said, that's the kind of stuff that sends you home in the playoffs.
I think I put a post out there on X that has I hope he retires at halftime.
Right. No, he wouldn't have had to worry about retiring at halftime if I was running the team. He would have been gone. I would have been like, dude, shower up and get in your car and go home.
He wouldn't have been on the team this
Especially
year.
after you show up Patrick like that. That's just uncalled for, man. That's a mortal sin in my book. But anyway, Chiefs win, wrap up an AFC West record 16th division title, 8
in a row.
straight.
Counting Nick's back-to-backs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, he's got 8. Got
8 on there.
I counted.
At first glance, it didn't look like 8 for some reason.
An amazing accomplishment. I mean, I've got this little mini basketball hoop thing here, and I mean, I can't even make 8 shots in a row on that thing. And the team wins the division in the NFL 8 years in a row. Go down to the basketball court and try and make 8 straight free throws. Then think about what this team has done. That predates Patrick Mahomes, obviously, right? It's not like Patrick's come in and really just torn it up, and Tom Brady, right, came in and the Patriots won 11 straight divisions. This goes back before they had Patrick, and it just kind of speaks to the consistency and what Andy Reid has brought to this team. Do we think Chiefs get to 11? I mean, they're in second place. They passed, I want to say it was the Rams for the second longest division streak in NFL history with 7 consecutive division titles. Chiefs now with 8 are in second place all alone behind the Patriots at 11. Be interested to see what the chat thinks here. Nick, Bo, Chiefs, they get to 11 and tie or maybe even break the Patriots record. What do you think?
Yeah, look, so we got to look at the team. So the Raiders, I don't think that they're anywhere close to competing for a division title. No. The Broncos, they're starting over again at quarterback with a bunch of dead cap space coming up for Russell Wilson, and they finished, middle of the pack. So they're going to have to either do it with a retread quarterback or find some diamond in the rough to get a good quarterback, because they're not going to have a high draft pick to try to get a premier quarterback. I mean, they're not getting Caleb Williams. So
to add to that point real quick, Nick, to add to your point.
Yeah. What's up, John?
The way they've done, you're good. The way that organization and coach has done Russell Wilson this year, that ain't exactly the type of stuff that makes other players want to come play for you either, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What a shit show over there.
That's a shit show. Sorry to interrupt you.
When they weren't technically eliminated from the postseason yet?
No, they weren't. 2 things at once.
So it's really got to come down
to the Bengals and the Broncos out of the playoffs.
2 things at once, baby.
Hey, excellent tweet, by the way, dude. Scott put out a tweet. If you haven't been on there, it's almost at like 200,000 views or something like that right now. It's at like 130 last I checked yesterday. Yeah. So I can only imagine where it's at, but well done. That was good, dude.
Sorry to get you off track there, Nick.
It's okay. So really, it's coming down to the Chargers, right? And who are they going to get for the coach? And is Justin Herbert, when he comes back, is he going to be good enough to win? I mean, I think that the glaring deficiency in the wide receiver core this year won't be a problem next year. Brett Veach is he's shown that when we have depth problems that he addresses them aggressively. So I don't think that he's not going to be looking at wide receiver. I think that we've got a really good shot, at least at 9, right? And I mean, 11, man, it's hard to say. I think before this streak, the Chiefs have never won back-to-back division titles.
Are you talking about just 11 wins, Scott, like this season? Is that what we're talking about?
No, 11 straight division titles is the record.
To beat the record.
The Patriots have the record with 11 straight division titles.
All right, I'm with you.
Yeah, so getting to 11, I don't know that I could say that they're going to get to 11, right? I mean, there's so many things that can happen with injury, but yeah, I definitely feel, I feel confident that they can, based on where the other teams are right now.
Yeah, I see the most popular man on the show, John V, is in the chat.
Hey-o.
Good to see you, John V. was good to see you guys back on Locker Room Rant here last
Congrats
week.
on the 1 seed with your 49ers.
Yeah, his 1 seed Niners. Although we all know what happened last
Brock
time the Niners
Sturdy,
had the
not
1
Brock
seed.
Hurdy. So
You know what's
Yeah.
funny, Nick? Like I was online earlier, and like somebody was complaining about the Chiefs making the playoffs. I can't remember which fan base it was. But like they have the easiest division in the AFC, right? You couldn't have told anybody that a year and a half ago or 2 years ago. Start of last season, we had the toughest division in the league. Devontae Adams came over to the Raiders. Russell Wilson's on the Broncos. And
They
then
got
you
Sean
never
Payton.
know. They got the MVP in San Diego, or in Los Angeles, so you'll never know with that team. And boy, dude, Nick, did you just break it down so well? Like I think it is possible. Those teams are in such disarray. They don't have the coaching staff nor the talent in place currently, and I like you said, they put themselves in such a terrible position to rebuild that. Yeah, man, I think it's real possible we could get 11.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I know Justin Herbert has thrown for a lot of yards and has the stats, and they got rid of their coach who was a complete buffoon. But that team's 5-11 this year.
Right.
Keenan Allen is another year older. Austin Eckler is getting to past his prime years for running back. That defense.
Come on over, Keenan. Come on over.
Look, man, here's the deal. Like
Justin Herbert, that contract, that's the big one, right? So,
right, they paid Herbert all that money now, so he's past the rookie deal there. So that makes it even harder. These teams are a ways away from Chiefs. I mean, this was the year that if you were going to get them, this was the year you get them, right? If you're one of the division opponents.
If we were like at our most vulnerable this year, we are at our most vulnerable. And we lost twice to division opponents? That's it?
Right. And they're still going to rest up week 17 because it's meaningless because they've got their playoff spot wrapped up. So, yeah, an amazing a run here for the Kansas City Chiefs. Winning the division guarantees that home game. You know, our man John V's talking about the Ravens here. They are tough.
It's also right. They're due for an upset.
They're in they are not only that, but they're in a tough spot here because they have the 1 seed wrapped up, and they are in the predicament now of, do you rest your starters for the final game of the year? Because if so, that means they're going to sit for 2 straight weeks and not play any football.
I love the first things first take on this 2 versus 3 weeks versus rest right now.
Right. I mean,
it's almost 3 weeks of no play.
Right. And they're in the damned if you do, damned if you do scenario, right? Like, damned if you do play your guys and one of them, God forbid, gets hurt and misses the playoff game, then you're a moron. You lost Lamar Jackson, or you lost Zay Flowers or Patrick Queen, one of their stars on defense. Kind of similar to Boy Genius out there in Los Angeles did with Mike Williams when they were heading into the playoffs last year, right? Got him hurt in a meaningless game. But if you don't play your guys and then they sit for 2 weeks and come out rusty and then you eke one or you lose at home even, be one and done in the playoffs, then you're going to get questioned as, did you sit guys for too long? I almost feel like the Chiefs are, I don't want to say in a better spot because the bye week, having to win 2 games and go to the Super Bowl as opposed to 3 is a huge advantage.
Yeah, that's always nice.
But man, they're not in all that enviable spot there. The coaches are with deciding on what to do to play guys. The Chiefs, however, they know they're playing wild card weekend. They are locked into the 3 seed regardless of outcomes this weekend. They are going to rest guys, according to Andy Reid. Says Patrick, some of these guys are going to sit. We wanted to know what Chiefs Kingdom thought about rest or play with the game here against the Chargers coming up, going into the playoffs. Is it better rest or rust? I don't know where people come down on that. Be interested to see what people in the chat have to say. But that was this week's CKL poll. Should the Chiefs rest guys in this kind of meaningless week 18, game 18, game 17, week 18 against the Chargers? Or with the struggles on offense, I don't think there's any way you play the defense. They've been locked in all year and been playing solid. Do they need to maybe, especially since they were kind of maybe getting going in the right direction, getting some momentum, moving the ball? I know they settled for a lot of field goals, but they moved the ball better than they have in quite a while on offense
Yeah.
against the Bengals. Do you try to keep that momentum going and play some guys? Polls in here right now. You can go on over, head on over to Chiefs Kingdom Live on X and vote in the poll if you'd like. Got 431
430
votes, so
votes. Nice.
quite a few people weighing in on this subject here. I want to see what
Hot
everybody in the chat has to say, but let's go to Bo. Let's go bottom to top here. Bo, are you
sure.
rest or play?
Dude, I'm so selfishly play. There's 3 players that are like right at the pinnacle of hitting 1,000 yards on their season, right? And like I know all about incentive play, and I don't know if that's their.
We lost your audio, Bo.
Lost Bo's audio, or is that just me?
Oh, that's a really sensitive microphone. I was trying to move it, lost it. There we go. No, I would really like to see Kelsey get his. I like to see Pacheco get his 1,000. I like to see Rice get his 1,000. And I know it's completely selfish because of all the things we just mentioned. You can risk players getting hurt or just some weird fluky thing happening you're not foreseeing by playing a player. But in all seriousness, yeah, Patrick doesn't need to play. Defense doesn't need to play, right? Those guys have been stellar all year. I mean, there's a case that Pacheco probably doesn't need to play and Kelsey. But everybody else, man, even Rice for me is on the fence. Like I could see him playing, getting a few snaps, but like he's another one you don't want to risk. Everybody else, especially our receiving core, get them in there. We rag on MVS all the time, but we were kind of joking too. But get them in there. Throw the ball to MVS every single time. Get him as many reps as possible. Get him used to catching a ball in front of a crowd. Get it, I don't know, second nature at this point, which it already should be. But I'm all for playing, especially like our receiving core. Just get them more reps. Don't go too crazy. Don't push them too hard. But let's just get some basic catches in there.
Yeah, I'm on team rest. A rusty Patrick Mahomes is better than no Patrick Mahomes, right? Or a rusty Pacheco is better than no Pacheco. You obviously have to play some guys, right? You don't have enough players to sit everybody and rest every starter. So there's guys that are going to have to go out there and play. I think Travis is close enough with 16 yards to get to that 8,000 yard season to where you can throw him in there, get him a couple quick 3 or 4 passes, get that 16 yards banged out, and get him out. Rice, you mentioned him. He's got like 60 or 70 yards to go. I mean, there's no guarantee he can play the whole game and not get 60 or 70 yards. So that's a little more questionable to me on whether you would play him. But to me also, like, this team has played so much football the last 4 years, especially the veteran guys that have been around here since the first playoff run there against the 49ers. I was adding it up. Some of these guys have played almost like an extra season's worth of games in the playoffs the last 4 or 5 seasons.
Yeah, for sure.
Going all the way to the AFC Championship game against the Patriots, and then all the way to the Super Bowl, all the way to the Super Bowl, all the way to the AFC Championship game, and then all the way to the Super Bowl again last year. Some of these guys have played an extra 14, 15, 16 games of football the last 4 or 5 years. They've got to be a little tired. Travis Kelce, to me, looks like he's not 100%. I don't know how much suiting up wears you out to go in there and catch 3 or 4 passes and get your 16 yards and get out. It looks like he could use some rest. A lot of these guys can use some rest. So I'm always team rest. You can't risk getting someone hurt, man. You just can't.
Yeah, I agree.
But man, like Kelsey's 16 yards. I bet Kelsey plays for that 16 yards. That's just my opinion. Nick,
wait, the first quarter?
Yeah, well, like
the first drive,
what are we talking about here? Like the whole point of getting the 1 seed, aside from home field advantage, is you get the bye, and we're in the 3 seed, and we've got a position where we can't really change our position. So, like, we can essentially get a half bye week or whatever with our main guys. Yeah, rest the starters, man. Like, it is definitely not worth the risk to, to get somebody hurt. Like, it didn't hurt the Chiefs when we were the 1 seed last year when we won the Super Bowl and we had the bye week.
Right.
did it, so I like give the guys the rest. I know that some guys may want records and stuff. A Super Bowl ring is worth more than getting 1,000-yard season, I mean, so to me, it's rest the guys, especially like Kelsey, Pacheco. I mean, Pacheco's been through the ringer. Let's put some of these backup running backs in. Mahomes, like, he was on the injury report. Yeah. Hit the like and subscribe button if you made it this far into the show. We appreciate it.
John C. looking out for us. Appreciate you, John C.
But dude, like, rest the guys. Let them get ready and healed up. And that's a great point, Scott. I mean, Mahomes is 11-3, I think, in the postseason. So you're talking about 14 extra games that he's played. That's a lot. That's a lot, and it's against the top talent. They're not easy games. They're not layups where you're coming out in the third quarter. A couple of those games have been not postseason, overtime games where we went to overtime in the AFC Championship games that we lost. So, I'm definitely team rest. I don't think that there's like if we go in and we lose, like it's just because we lost, right? I don't think it's gonna be because we're rusty. I mean, you're like we are who we are at this point. We just need to make sure that our main guys are getting listed up and not getting hurt. I mean, because if we play somebody, if we play Snead, if we play Pacheco, or we play Travis Kelce, Rashee Rice. I mean, trying to get Rashee Rice 1,000-yard season as a rookie, I get it, but dude, if that guy gets hurt, like we don't have a replacement. Right? You know what I mean?
Right.
So
his name's Justin Ross.
Very emphatically on rest everybody that we can.
Get Justin Ross out there.
Yeah, get Justin Ross out there.
Yeah.
And get him 250-yard games so that I can win this bet that I got going.
206 yard or whatever.
Goes out there as like a duck game where he gets like 350 yards or something.
Right. Oh man, that'd be awesome. I would love it.
Well, this isn't a real game, is it? Right? The Chargers are locked up in the 6th pick for the draft, so it's not like they can improve or lessen their position in the draft or their season, right? So it's not like a real game for them. It's not a real game for us.
No.
Put them in there. Nobody's gonna be trying.
There's nothing to be gained. I guess the argument I've seen some people make, or I was thinking, was just with the way the offense has struggled. They had some momentum going last week. Just get some more work in, right? And maybe get a little bit more confidence, get a little bit of a boost, ride that wave into the playoffs. But to me, that benefit that you would get from that does not outweigh the risk of getting someone injured and missing a game. So I think most of us are on team rest. I think Kelsey's going to play and try to get that 16 yards, though. I see
him playing like one quarter and getting it.
I mean, a Super Bowl ring is definitely worth more than a 1,000-yard season, but he's going for like something that no one's ever done, right? He's extending his NFL record, 8th consecutive 1,000-yard season. So I feel like that's important to him. And again, if he was 100 yards away or 80 or 90 yards, he's going to have to play the whole game to get it. I think it was our man Kevin made a good point earlier. Hell, you could probably put him in there for one play, and he's going to get 30 yards against the Chargers because he owns the Chargers. So
he's earned the right. If he decides that he wants to go in there, he should be able to go in there. I'm just saying, if it's my decision, like hell no, like get rested up, dude. Yeah. Like you're 34 years old, Yeah.
I'm not going to argue there. So. Chiefs' possible opponents obviously have not been determined yet, but there's a whole slew of potential playoff opponents for the Chiefs. At the 3 seed, obviously, is going to be whoever ends up as the 6th seed on Wild Card Weekend. Reposted a post from Jason Anderson. They're on 810 Sports, WHB. Who do we want to play out of that mixed bag of possible opponents there? Well done on Jason's part there, too, to put this together and all the different combinations of who wins Sunday and what that would mean for the Chiefs. I mean, obviously, the most simple one is the Buffalo wins. We play the Dolphins. Dolphins would come to Arrowhead as the wild card team. But then you look there, it's like if Miami and Jacksonville and Houston wins, then you could play Houston. If Miami and Jacksonville and Indy win, you play in Indy. Outside chance you would have to play the Buffalo Bills. I think Miami, that Tennessee and Baltimore, with Baltimore resting guys, is going to be extremely difficult to happen.
With Kevin so much.
I don't know what the most likely scenario of those is because Buffalo's eked out wins here the last couple weeks. Miami's probably going to be looking for some redemption after getting smoked by the Ravens and wanting to win that division playing at home. So, I'd say I'm looking at that combo there. I think the 1A most likely is Buffalo wins and we play Miami, or Miami, Jacksonville, and Indy win and we play Indy. Houston's kind of falling apart and CJ Stroud's been injured. So I want to know what everybody in the chat has to say. Out of those potential opponents there, Miami, Houston, Indy, Pittsburgh, or Buffalo, who would you most like to play? Nick?
Yeah.
Better than a bye, part 2, baby. Pittsburgh. Let's go.
That's what I was thinking.
Pittsburgh.
Took the words out of my mouth, man. Damn.
Pittsburgh with Mason Rudolph or Mitch Trubisky, or is Kenny Pickett, is he on IR? Is he even available to play at this point?
I don't know. I saw something saying he didn't want to be the backup.
They just smoked the Bengals the week before. Pittsburgh did. You're rolling Pittsburgh, right? That's who you want to play?
That's who I want to play. It.
Who do you think we play?
Who do I think we play? We'll probably play Miami.
Yeah, I can see that. Bo, who do you want to play, and who do you think we play?
Dude, I'm with Nick. I would want to play either like Pittsburgh or maybe Houston. They're obviously the lesser of the pile. But I mean, yeah, they're all tough. I don't want to really. Can we just not play any of them and just go to the Super Bowl like years past? No, dude. I don't know if we're gonna play Miami. I feel like Miami can come out and beat Buffalo this weekend.
They definitely can.
Yeah, they have that potential. Buffalo, they've just really struggled in the second quarter in all these games. They come out strong, and I don't know if they just get too comfortable or like something. I heard an interesting stat though, like out of the last 8 games, 7 of the games that Diggs didn't get a touchdown, they won, and then the one game he did get a touchdown, they lost. So that just kind of throws that, like, that's a weird stat to hear when you're trying to like decide like, oh man, who's going to be the winner of this game. I could really see us playing Buffalo, man. I could see Miami doing that and the outcomes going that way, and we play Buffalo, and that would actually be the people or the team I'd want to play the least. I feel like there's too much animosity there. They kind of caught their stride the tail end of this season, running the ball out of all things versus anything, and like limiting Josh Allen, which is like what we've been saying would be the key to their success. So I guess somebody on the Buffalo end of things is watching our show when we talk about them. Yeah, who would have thought? But no, I mean, yeah, I'd really hate to see Buffalo come first round.
Yeah, Buffalo to me them and the Chiefs are like that Spider-Man meme where they're like pointing at each other. Like those two teams are so close to like potential A game level being way up here, but turnovers and mistakes, playing down to their competition, to me, they are so evenly matched. It's ridiculous. They've beaten Buffalo the last twice now straight in the playoffs here the last couple of years. Man, I mean, if I could pick any team to play out of there, I'm with Nick. I want to play the Steelers. I don't think the Steelers are all that good. George Pickens is very, very up and down. I feel like you could throw a Jerry Sneed on a guy like that. Deontay Johnson is like Pittsburgh's version of number 11. Guy can't catch the ball. So I'd probably want to play them or Indy the most out of that matchup. I think they're going to play the Dolphins. I think Miami's. I think Buffalo's going to win that game. So
that's a dangerous game. The Dolphins.
Yeah. Tyreek gets to come back to Arrowhead after all. They lost Bradley Chubb, though, right? The Dolphins did. Talk about losing a player in a meaningless game. They were down by 30, and that guy tears his ACL. They should have had him out of the game. Good God, what are you doing, man? That coach, another one of these young gun geniuses that maybe has turned out to be not so much of a genius. So,
John C. called that out earlier.
You know, now that I think about it, dude, I would hate to play Miami, dude. Give Tyreek a revenge game after like essentially costing the game after we kind of beat him and he was talking all that shit against us. That's
Tyreek. I mean, how healed up is he from his ankle injury at this point, though?
Yeah, I don't know. What
that'd be interesting to see.
He had kind of a quiet. Well, no, he didn't really have a quiet game.
Shit, now that I think about it, isn't Waddle hurt too, and Mostert? Like they're banged up right now. Miami is.
They are, but A-Chain's as good as Mostert, so
that's for sure. But I mean, Waddle is what makes Tyreek get open, though, right? Like he's another speedster.
Yeah, I think our secondary matches up good against their strength, and their defense is not very good. I think the Chiefs could expose and move the ball on them. Yeah, I just don't want to play a team with a good defense. I don't want to play a team with a good quarterback that could get in a shootout and then has like a good defense.
Yeah, I mean, when I said Pittsburgh, the first thing was, well, who's their quarterback? I mean, if that's the answer, then you
Let's go with that team. Yeah.
The guy we don't know who's playing quarterback.
Right.
Kudos to Kevin for the Colts.
Yeah. I mean, everybody remembers that.
Now, Patrick exercised those demons a little bit with.
We did, though. Like, Patrick, that was his first playoff win, right? Was against the Colts?
Yeah, 31-13. Ended Andrew Luck's career, but still, no Colts, please. I mean, our record against the
too much PTSD
is not good.
Yeah, I feel like Patrick exercised that demon. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I'm not worried about playing any. As up and down as the offense has been, and as up and down as this team has been, and the mistakes, and then that's that. Like, I mean,
I don't foresee Uncle Rico Gardner Minshew coming into Arrowhead and beating Patrick Mahomes in the postseason. I mean, I don't think that's on the timeline, but I do get not an AFC South team because for whatever reason they just seem to beat us, man. It's weird.
I mean,
as well.
Avoid the Texans, right? CJ Stroud has looked really good. They've got weapons, although they lost Tank. They lost Tank Dell, and that team has not been. I mean, when they were even with CJ Stroud, they were winning close games. Their defense is still not quite there yet, but
and he hasn't played in like 5 or 6 games. I don't feel like CJ Stroud.
Yeah, only the Bills or Ravens in our class. I mean, yeah, they're definitely the two teams that I'd be most worried about, right?
The Ravens, though, you're not going to play them until an AFC Championship game.
Yeah, and that's next week's discussion.
The Chiefs have shown that they can play the Ravens. They kind of have that formula down. They've beaten that team a bunch here the last handful of years. I feel like they're another one where put our defense up against their defense, and their playmakers on offense are an aging OBJ, which I think L'Jarius Sneed could probably take care of. They got the rookie there, Flowers, but Trent McDuffie has played good. I watched the Ravens barely beat the Rams at home a couple weeks ago. Mm-hmm. That's a team that can be had. So
Matt, he asked. I know we said this a few minutes ago. It looks like he maybe just popped in. Welcome to the show. But Bo, did you say who you thought we were playing?
Yeah, I think we're playing the Bills.
Okay,
I think they're gonna sneak in there.
So you think that Miami's gonna win against Buffalo this week, and we'll end up playing the Bills? I
do.
Yeah, Scotty and I both said Dolphins. We think that the Bills will win, and we'll just be playing the Dolphins. Which, NFL will get that Tyreek Hill revenge game storyline. It's all about the storylines.
I don't want it.
It's true.
All right, well, going back to the Ravens real quick, though, like, this season aside, would you ever bet on the Ravens to be successful in the postseason? Right? Like if you
Yeah.
look at their track record in the postseason, like that's keeping me from like being like, oh yeah, they got this one, dude. And now you put them in the 1 seed when we pointed out like you give them that much rest, that much time to think about like how much is on the line for them to blow it. I think they choke. That's
Right.
their MO.
Right. I don't know if our man John V is still watching or not. I'd like to know his confidence level on his Niners going into the playoffs here as the 1 seed.
Uh-oh.
I tell you, the one team they don't want to play is the Rams, man. That's a division opponent.
If they lose to the Rams in the postseason, John's going to need all new appliances.
Right. John V is going to be in a not very good mood. So,
Watch that
I
go.
don't know anything else. Playoffs, you guys? I mean, we all pretty much think Chiefs should rest this week, and they're going to. That Andy Reid announced that Patrick and some of these guys aren't going to play. I think we all want to play like the Steelers or
Steelers, Houston, Indy, right? Like one of those three, maybe compared to everybody else.
Even Indy, I'm not scared of Indy.
Yeah, I'm not scared of the Colts either. Minshew Mania or whatever, Minshew Madness or whatever that stuff's called.
Soon it'll be Minshew Sadness.
Minshew Sadness. Yeah, I mean, he did this same thing in Jacksonville for a little while, right? And then kind of came back to
Yeah.
crashed.
It reminds me
back to earth, so.
Fitzpatrick a lot.
Oh yeah,
Right.
that's a good comp.
Did we get anybody in the chat saying who they wanted to play? Did we throw them up and I just missed them, or?
Oh,
Sorry, I'm on the other page. I'm on the banners page.
If you haven't said who you want to play in the playoffs yet in the chat, throw them up in there.
He said not the Steelers.
No Steelers.
To me, that's like the easiest one.
I mean, we do it every week. We could do score predictions just so we can continue to give somebody a chance at winning.
I don't think we can play
awesome
Jacksonville,
CKL
though.
stickers.
We
I
can't
don't think
play
Jacksonville's an option, are they? If you go back to that tweet, I don't think they can. They're either going to win the division or they're going to be too high of a seed that we wouldn't play them.
Okay, yeah.
Or the
They'll
seven,
either win their division or not be in, right?
or they're the seven.
Yeah, Jacksonville's not one of those options.
Right. Miami,
Okay.
Houston, Indy, Pittsburgh, or Buffalo are the options.
Yeah, all right. Yep. I went pretty far up. Maybe the comment wasn't related to this. I just saw a team and posted it.
Do we do a score prediction? Give somebody a shot at winning this cool CKL sticker? Yeah, if you get this right score, you win the CKL sticker.
For the Chargers game,
Yeah.
Blaine Gabbert's going to be playing quarterback. Oof.
Oh, yeah.
16-7.
So I was gonna say something like
12-9.
12-10 or something.
I'm going exact opposite. 42-21, dude. We're gonna light it up. And they're gonna be like, what? Who is this? Should we play Blaine Gabbert? Right. It's gonna be weird. We're gonna score so much with our secondary. It's gonna be like, who is this Chiefs offense? I'm obviously not trying to win this sticker though.
Right. It's just, man, it's a crapshoot picking a score prediction for this game because Chargers are playing scrubs, Chiefs are playing scrubs.
I feel like it's gonna look like the Pro Bowl. Like we started off the show talking about the Pro Bowl. I think that we're gonna get a preview of what that game's gonna look like in this game. I don't see anybody going 100%.
Yeah. Kevin's asking who won last week's prediction. No one got it correct last week. There was a couple people on Twitter or X that were 1 point off. They said 24-17 and it was 25-17. There was a couple people that were 1 point off, but
there we go. We got John C. 28-10.
ooh,
One man show 12-10.
Blaine Gabbert's coming and lighting it up, huh?
We can be doing all field goals again, one man show.
Although the Chargers defense is trash, so I mean that could happen, I guess. Maybe the backups come in. Then we'll have a quarterback controversy. The Chiefs come in with Blaine Gabbert and score 35 points on the Chargers, and everybody's talking, should we play him over Patrick Mahomes?
Yeah, exactly. We're gonna light it up. That's why I said 42-20 something.
– 42-20 something. John V. Stop. He's out of the prediction business. 42-20. 42-20 something. 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 I used to think like that and think that stuff that I wore or predictions I made like influenced the outcome. And then I realized at some point, almost every person watching the game and going to the game is wearing their lucky this or doing their lucky that, and one team wins and one team loses every week. So I just don't think that stuff ever really matters. But yeah, it's been a crapshoot since week 2.
With that being said, Scott's having a Chiefs viewing party this week when when it doesn't matter.
I want to keep that in mind when you're doing your score prediction here on who you're picking to win the game. But look, they're playing Easton Stick, okay? So Blaine Gabbert, I mean, I think the Chiefs are going to win. The Chargers suck, man. They're not just a coach away.
No, yeah, they're far away.
So, I mean, I still think Chiefs are going to win. I'm picking 4 Butker field goals and a touchdown would be 19. I'm going 19-12.
All right.
That's my prediction. I'm getting on the board, 19-12. You guys give yours yet?
Oh, yeah.
Funny enough, 1912 was, I think, the last year that the Chargers weren't predicted to win the AFC West.
True that.
Buzzing.
Heyo.
Good one. Starting off the new year was a good burn there. Yeah, the Chargers are so bad. They're so bad.
Laney's picking 21-3.
They're the Chargers are 5 and what? 11? 5 and 11 right now. A team that had a quarterback that was better than Patrick Mahomes, and was going to get the Chiefs. It was going to be this year to finally get the division. And at least the last handful of years, they made the playoffs and were somewhat competitive and were like around 500, right? They completely
worthy of the discussion, right? A little bit.
Exactly.
Now it's just like I can't wait for the talk.
They're the worst. They're the worst team in the division. They got the worst record in the AFC West. No, I mean, they've came in second the last 2 or 3 years, right? That's fucking last place.
I would not have bet the Broncos finishing second this year, though.
No.
I
think at the beginning of the year, I was thinking it was going to be Chiefs, Chargers, Broncos, Raiders. But we need to go back and watch, too, after all the divisions and everything is wrapped up in the playoff. We went back. We did our preseason picks where we picked all the division winners and who we thought the wild card teams would be. We need to go back and watch that, and maybe we can talk about that next week when we're getting ready for the playoffs, because there's really not going to be a whole lot to talk about, I don't think, from this Chargers game. So,
no, other than a game happened. Yeah, not too much.
I'm pretty sure I picked the Panthers to win that division, and they won one game this year. So,
did you remember that? Oh, who's our Panthers
won the division
fan?
last year? They were, if they would have beat Tampa Bay, the last game of the year last year, they would have won the division and made the playoffs, right? Carolina. So. I did not see them falling that far back with Bryce Young, man. I thought Bryce Young.
Yeah, dude, especially when they drafted Bryce Young, and you're like, oh, dude, this team's gonna be something. They're gonna be a contender,
right? Man. Did you see?
I don't think any of us predicted the Lions doing well.
I think I predicted the Lions win that division. Pretty sure. I'll go back and watch it, and I'll have the. Our picks ready for us. We can kind of break it down next week when we're looking ahead to the playoffs. So,
I
don't know if John V answered my question or not about how good he's feeling about his Niners going into the playoffs here as the 1 seed. Any teams in the NFC worrying you there, John V?
Yeah, all the top NFC contenders just seem to have fallen off, right? Dallas. The Lions. I mean, they're still pretty good. But the Eagles, right? The Eagles have just the Eagles are 4 straight.
The Eagles are fucking trash. That's what that guy gets for talking shit to Arrowhead. That's what happens when you do that. So
Eagles just lost to the Cardinals. Like, ooh,
what's going on there? His new nickname cracks me up, Dick Sirianni, because the guy's a total cheese dick. Like, so funny.
That's what it is about his face.
What about the Panthers owner? pulling a Larry
Yeah.
Johnson to one of the fans, huh?
Right. Yeah, he did. Threw his drink on him. He got fined $300,000 for that. Did you see that?
No.
No, I missed all of this. What are you guys talking about?
The Panthers played at Jacksonville last week, and the owner was in one of those open air suites where the windows and everything were open because obviously it was in Jacksonville, so it's warm there,
Yeah,
right?
it's nice.
And I guess some fans were heckling the Panthers owner, so he threw his beer on them.
Yes.
Call
He
that
got
a
fined $300,000.
Yeah, the NFL fined him 300 G's for throwing his drink on the fan.
That's not too surprising. They fined Patrick Mahomes 50 G's for saying these guys are human. They
Pointing
make
out how
mistakes.
shitty the referees are.
But he didn't even say anything bad. He said they're human. They make mistakes. 50 grand.
Just let us play. I don't understand. It was a terrible call. I think part of that too was him, like how livid he was after, like during the game.
Yeah, probably yelling at the refs is what he
Had to
got
be
fined
physically
for.
like separated from the referee. So, but hey, if you're Jamar Chase, you can punch L'Jarius Sneed in the throat and shove the ref out of the way, and they don't kick you out of the game. So,
Yeah, but like you're not like physically restraining him from like going up and fighting him. Like you're physically restraining him, like, hey man, shut up, get away so you don't get a penalty, right? It's not like he was like, I'm gonna go up there and sock the ref, you know what I mean? Like it wasn't like that. Like he was just saying, hey, that's some bullshit.
yeah. John C's talking about the Lions getting robbed here. I didn't think they got robbed. I thought they got too cute.
He had like 3
outsmarted
chances.
and outsmarted themselves, right? They had 3 guys go up to the referee and one guy just say the word report without saying I'm reporting or anything like that. They did it to be sneaky and confuse the Cowboys as to who would be reporting as eligible. And they confused the referees too. So I don't know how bad I feel for the Lions.
Don't they announce who's reporting as eligible? Shouldn't they have known that they?
Yeah, every play, you're supposed to report in as eligible if you're.
Right. I don't know that they always say it. I mean, I've seen them. I've seen guys report and they don't say it. The referees, they do quite a bit, but I just don't send 3 guys up there and have one guy mumble one word and then be pissed off when they didn't hear it or thought it was the wrong guy. You know what I mean? You were trying to be sneaky and you were too sneaky.
My sympathy for other teams saying that they got robbed by the referees went straight to 0 after everybody shit on the Chiefs and the fans for getting upset about a couple of game-changing calls.
I'm just surprised, Scott, that you're not talking about their dumb idea to go for 2 right there instead of tie the game and go into overtime.
I mean, I understand them originally going for 2, but once you got the penalty for the illegal touching and it was at the 7-yard line, bro, kick the extra point and go to overtime.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like what that coach got wrapped up in the emotion of it and he was going to go for it no matter what. And once they got the penalty and it backfired, their little plan to try to outsmart everybody on who was actually reporting, and they got a penalty. They should have just kicked the extra point at that point. That was so ridiculous to go for it.
Dude, did they convert it or not? And then it got called back, right? They converted and they won, and then the penalty called it back. Then they went for it again, missed it, but then the defense had a penalty. And they went for it a third time, right? And that's where I'm like, okay. Scott and I, if you're a fan of the show, you've seen us have this discussion about going for it in that situation, going for 2 for the win, right? I'm more go for it. Scott's usually kind of go for the tie, but like, dude, at your 3rd attempt, when you saw like, oh yeah, we won, and like, oh man, we could have lost that game. You get to see both outcomes and which one's worse. Like, oh, we should go for a tie, right? Like, I don't know, like.
And going for it from the 7 was absolutely ridiculous.
Exactly. It's not like you're on the
7-yard line.
3. Yeah, dude. Yeah.
That also highlighted a flaw that's something I've never understood about penalties. So when they're at the 2 and they get a 5-yard penalty, it gets moved back to the 7. But like when you're at the 5 and you get a 10-yard penalty, they only do it half the distance to the goal. So they got a 5-yard penalty and it moved it back from the 2 to the 7, but then they got another penalty, 10 yards, but it was only half the distance to the goal. So that penalty only became 3.5 yards. I've never understood the half the distance to the goal.
Yeah, they can't be penalized more than half the distance, right?
Yeah.
Right. But that's what I'm saying. Like, if you get a 5-yard penalty at the 2, you move back to the 7. If you get a 5-yard penalty at the 4, it only goes forward to the 2 instead of going to like the 1. You know what I mean? So I've never understood like why that is the way it is.
I think it was just one of those things when you're like deciding rules, like, all right, we're just going to agree upon something. Does this work? And it was like, yeah, that works.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're like inside the 5, like why don't they do half the distance away from the goal line instead of half the distance to the goal line? I mean, they got screwed because they got a 5-yard penalty and it put them back to the 7. And then when they got a penalty after that, it only moved it forward 3.5 yards. So
I'm just still baffled that you get your third attempt. You're still going to go for 2, dude. The stats don't back you up on that at all.
I was baffled that the 1 seed was possibly on the line or the 2 seed. Like,
right.
Maybe not the 1. The 2 seed was possibly on the line there. He just got bullheaded is what it was. He got pissed off that they got it and that they took it away on his little report quagmire that they created there. And so then he was going to go for it regardless at that point. And that's when you got to kind of take a step back, right? And not let the moment get the better of you and use your head and say, probably not going to get it from the 7-yard line, maybe kick the extra point. But that's not what they did, and they lost, and now they're not the 2 seed. And man, that could be a big mistake by that. And I like that coach, and he's done a good job. But man,
regardless of that was such an exciting finish to that game, man.
It was
like,
exciting.
Not having like any interest in it, watching it is like, oh man, oh no way, another penalty, no. So back and forth. Yeah, it was pretty exciting.
Yeah. So I don't know. Anything else anybody wants to talk about before we get out of here?
I'm good. We've been doing it hour 46 now.
There you go.
Good show. It's fun.
Yeah. No, it's been a lot of fun. Really enjoyed it. Been a good week. Knocked the Bengals and the Broncos out of the playoffs. Got back in the win column. Wrapped up a record division title. Guaranteed a home game here at Arrowhead Stadium in the postseason. So
it's not a light, John. It's made out of wood. I got that as a Christmas gift.
Right. Yeah, we have this cousin of ours that makes these like badass wooden. She's like a master craftsman or something. She makes this shit and it looks better than the stuff you see at the stores.
I am extremely jealous of that. That is so badass. If you are happen to watch, or you're happen to be watching right now, and you want to make an extra one for me, I would take one.
Right.
Go right in the back.
Yeah. If you're
really
watching,
good.
Suzanne, Bo would like a Chiefs CKLR,
Well done.
as would I.
Yeah.
So.
Super jealous.
But thanks again for everybody who joined us here. The chat was full and lively, and we appreciate everybody. Like always, make sure you click like and subscribe. We get a lot of views, but not as many likes. That really helps out a lot. So if you haven't clicked like yet, go ahead and do that for us. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and do that for us. We'll be working on another giveaway here, and we're working on getting the giveaways packaged out and sent out here. We've done a bunch here in the last couple weeks, so we got to get together and get some time, and we're going to sort out where and who all this
It's
stuff
coming. It's coming, folks. Promise.
But
you guys will get your prizes.
If you're a winner, you're going to get your prize. I promise you that 100%. So Chiefs play in a meaningless game at the Los Angeles Chargers. We'll be back next week to talk a little bit about that, but really more, we'll be breaking down playoffs. Playoff football is here. The regular
playoffs.
The regular season's in the books.
Damn, that was a fast one.
It's been a year and a half since we went to Arizona for that Cardinals game, Bo. That's wild. That seems like that was like a couple months ago.
That's wild. That's wild.
I don't know. Maybe depending on if the Chiefs have to play a road playoff game, maybe depending on where they go. I've got some vacation time. I might be hitting the road for that. So we'll see. But next week, we'll be back. Make sure you're here. Make sure you're liked. Make sure you're subscribed. And until then, Sunday in Los Angeles against the Chargers. Let's go, Chiefs.
Let's go, Chiefs.
Chiefs.